Here is something strange. The country that invented the phrase land of the free is the only developed nation on earth where customers are expected to pay part of the worker's salary directly, on top of the bill. Americans tips at restaurants, coffee shops, hair salons, hotels, taxis, and now increasingly at self-checkout counters where no one served them at all. 60% of Americans say they want the whole system gone. So why does it exist? The answer isn't about generosity. It's about who America decided not to pay. Most people assume tipping is just an American custom, something cultural, like big portions or saying, "How are you?" to strangers. But tipping didn't start in America. It started in Europe, in the aristocratic dining rooms of England and France, where wealthy patrons left extra money as a display of status. In the mid-1800s, wealthy Americans traveling through Europe picked up the habit and brought it home, and America hated it. Critics called it un-American, a holdover from the old world that created a master-servant dynamic in a country that was supposed to be built on equality. In 1904, the Anti-Tipping Society of America was founded in Georgia. It had 100,000 members. They pledged not to tip anyone for a year. Between 1909 and 1915, 6 states actually banned tipping outright: Washington, Arkansas, Iowa, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia all made it illegal to give or receive a tip. So what happened? Why didn't the ban stick? The Civil War ended in 1865. 4 million enslaved people were freed, and the question America faced was simple. How do you build an economy when you can no longer force people to work for nothing? Some industries found an answer. You let the customers pay them instead. The Pullman Company is the clearest example. Starting in 1868, the company hired black men, most of them formerly enslaved, as porters in its luxury sleeping cars. George Pullman chose black workers specifically. He believed that former slaves, as he put it, would know best how to cater to customers everywhere. He paid them almost nothing. In the 1890s, porters earned as little as $10 a month. By the 1920s, the base wage was around $72, but porters had to pay for their own meals, uniforms, lodging, and supplies out of that. The rest of their income? Tips. The restaurant industry did the same thing. Hotels did the same thing. Hire black workers, pay them next to nothing, and let the customers' generosity or guilt fill the gap. The anti-tipping laws didn't survive because the industries that relied on tipping fought them. By 1926, every single one of those bans had been repealed. The system was too profitable for the employer. Here's where it gets locked in. In 1938, Franklin Roosevelt signed the Fair Labor Standards Act, the first federal minimum wage, but there was a carve-out. Restaurant workers and tipped employees were excluded entirely. It took until 1966 for tipped workers to be included at all, and even then, they were only guaranteed half the regular minimum wage. The other half? Tips. That split was supposed to stay at 50-50, but in 1996, Congress froze the tipped minimum wage at $2.13 per hour. The regular minimum wage kept rising. The tipped wage didn't. It's been $2.13 for over 30 years. Let that sit for a second. In 2026, there are workers in 15 US states whose employer is legally required to pay them $2.13 an hour. Everything else comes from you. And the workforce that depends on this system, 70% female, disproportionately black and brown women. The demographics have changed since the Pullman era, but the economics haven't. Meanwhile, the place where tipping actually started, Europe, moved on. In the 1990s, most European countries passed minimum wage laws that included servers. The service charge was built into the price. A waiter in Paris or Berlin earns a living wage before a single customer leaves €1 on the table. Tipping in Europe isn't rude, it's just unnecessary. The system doesn't depend on it. Japan takes it even further. Tipping is considered insulting. The idea that you'd need to add extra money implies the service wasn't already worth the price. The quality of the work is the point, not the bonus. So the question isn't really why does America tip? It's why did everyone else stop and America didn't? The answer is that tipping in America was never really about rewarding good service. It was a workaround, a way for industries to shift the cost of labor from the employer to the customer. And it started with workers who had no power to negotiate. That system got written into federal law, and once it was in the law, it became culture. And once it was culture, it felt like it had always been there. Now it's expanding. Tip prompts appear at counter service restaurants, bakeries, drive-thrus, places where tipping never existed before. 66% of Americans say they feel confused or pressured by it. That pressure has a name now, guilt tipping, and the system is counting on it. America didn't develop a tipping culture because Americans are generous. It developed one because after the Civil War, it was cheaper than paying people. And 160 years later, it still is.